Late night host Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air after taking the summer off. He's missed a lot. Kimmel says if you're not vaccinated, you shouldn't get a hospital ICU bed. But I'm not sure if Jimmy was being sincere because he wasn't crying. Anyway, it's just funny hearing someone say I see you who nobody actually sees. Look, I don't want to suggest that Kimmel's show has become boring and predictable, but last night during the taping, people in the studio audience were changing the channel.
Or open up to being wrong. You're more than likely going to end up right once in a while, but these guys have been wrong for 8 years.
Terrible night for everyone who voted against him, and guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
The killer phrase was at the end when Kimmel said, you just don't realize it. Because you see, he's smarter than you, and he needs you to know that.
Jimmy Kimmel was coasting on cruise control, tossing dad jokes like stale popcorn. Then Greg Gutfeld crash-landed into the segment like a grenade in a comedy club. No warning, no mercy, just pure verbal carnage. Gutfeld didn't roast Kimmel, he incinerated him. Sarcasm became a weapon, and Kimmel, just collateral damage. One moment he's smirking, the next he's drowning in punchlines sharp enough to draw blood. It wasn't a roast, it was a televised takedown. Kimmel walked in with jokes. Gutfeld walked out with his dignity.
Part about this whole thing is that his presidency is ripe for mockery and ridicule and even gentle humor if you like him. I mean, just Hunter Biden alone, just in the recent stuff, I mean, you could go on forever. But Kimmel has abdicated his role of a comedian. He's now just a political hack, which I'm grateful for because then I get the turf to myself. I'm not a comedian, but I just filled the gap. That's why I'm beating him every night because he sat there with that guy and basically he spoon-fed him like he was a dementia patient.
It started with one cold glance. Greg Gutfeld looked across the late-night lineup and dropped a bomb. Is Jimmy Kimmel still pretending he's funny? Boom. The mask slipped, and the roast began. Gutfeld has a brutal gift. Spot the obvious, say it loud, and watch the fallout. In an industry drunk on groupthink, he chose violence. And Kimmel? Just the first casualty.
Kimmel actually said in that thing that, you know, the people who voted for Trump, they just don't know what they've done. You know, they don't realize how badly they've hurt themselves. And so it's not a concern for others that you're seeing with this. It's an expression of ego.
Kimmel, once the beer-guzzling hype man of the Man Show, now hides behind teary-eyed monologues and virtue-signaling sermons. From bikinis to buzzwords, what happened? The wild frat boy turned into a soft-focused PSA machine, and Gutfeld wasn't having it. He didn't just mock the shift, he industrialized the sarcasm. Jimmy's legacy tossed onto Gutfeld's conveyor belt and shredded in real time.
Tonight, Jimmy Kimmel fought back tears while falsely claiming Donald Trump attacked LA firefighters, prompting the LA Fire Department to attach a hose to Jimmy's face.
Kimmel stumbles through political punchlines like a high schooler trying to impress a debate team crush. Awkward, cringy, and completely out of his depth. Meanwhile, Gutfeld slices through the nonsense with chainsaw precision and zero filters. Kimmel's transformation into a late-night preacher isn't bold. It's embarrassing. The guy who once sold fart jokes for ratings is now playing America's moral compass? Please. The only thing he's guiding is the nation's patience. Straight off a cliff.
Who cut his lawn.
It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare.
True, it was a terrible night for women, children, and for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants.
While Kimmel clings to cue cards and clout, Gutfeld's out here building a comedy empire by doing the one thing Jimmy forgot, actually being funny. This wasn't just a roast, it was a surgical demolition. Gutfeld didn't drop a zinger. He served a 5-course feast of mockery, each bite sharper than the last. Kimmel, once the wild card of late night, now reeks of irony, preaching empathy with a past that would get him canceled in under 10 seconds. Gutfeld didn't even need to spell it out. The hypocrisy did the heavy lifting. And as the punches landed, the crowd remembered. Kimmel used to be electric. Now, he's the taste-free tofu of late-night smug, soggy, and begging to be taken seriously.
Everyone who voted against him, and guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
You know what? If I ever cry on TV, it'll be because Maroon 5 put out a new song. But that's it. You big Now,
over at Gutfeld, The laughter isn't forced, filtered, or focus grouped, it's real. No virtue signaling chuckles, no desperate applause breaks, just actual jokes that hit like precision strikes. Gutfeld has become a comedy assassin. He doesn't rant, he surgically mocks. One glance at Kimmel's latest sob session in disguise, and Gutfeld responded with a scalpel made of sarcasm. No yelling, no outrage, just cold, smirking demolition. Because let's be real, when a host opens with tears and closes with a hashtag pun, what's left to do but laugh at them? The numbers don't lie. While Kimmel's ratings swirl down the drain like a bad takeout order, Gutfeld's rewriting the playbook. No lectures, no sanctimony, just comedy that works. And sure, the critics sneer, it's not traditional late night. But that's the whole point. Traditional late night is dead, and Gutfeld, he's dancing on its grave with a punchline.
The killer phrase was at the end when Kimmel said, "You just don't realize it." Because you see, he's smarter than you, and he needs you to know that. And his ego can't bear that there's someone out there more famous and more influential than him. I got news for you, Kimmel. The last time you mattered, Bruce Jenner still had a piece.
Gutfeld walks in, drops raw truth, and actually gets laughs. Not pity claps, real ones. He didn't just roast Kimmel, he torched the whole fake woke circus propping him up. The applause breaks for bland takes, mocked. The moral lectures, shredded. And then came the dagger, Kimmel's hypocrisy. The guy who built his fame on frat boy humor now plays moral watchdog? It's laughable. Gutfeld didn't need to scream. He let the irony do the talking. Kimmel's not evolving, he's hiding behind scripted tears and crowd-pleasing guilt.
CNN, MSNBC, CBS, the town crier. All outlets ignoring Biden's revolving door of gaps. His constant forgetfulness, weird rambling speeches being let off stage. All the while you told us there's nothing to see here.
Gutfeld is allergic to boring. His comedy explodes in full Technicolor chaos. No filters, no safe zones. No Twitter approval needed, just pure, unfiltered jokes. In 2025, the biggest shocker on late night, actually being funny. One guy delivers awkward TED Talk vibes. The other runs a comedy masterclass powered by wit and zero apologies. Kimmel's show feels like a PR script gone wrong. Gutfeld's, a rebellion against the whole sanitized Met Gala-chasing circus. And here's the kicker, Gutfeld never needed Kimmel in the same room to tear him apart. He didn't argue, he dismantled the idea of Kimmel, the washed-up host who traded laughs for lectures and wondered why the audience vanished. Then Greg unleashed Kimmel's greatest hits, the hypocrisy mixtape no one asked for but everyone needed, served with surgical sarcasm and chainsaw precision. Because nothing screams moral compass like the guy who once hosted The Man Show, where women bounced on trampolines while he grunted into a camera, now wagging his finger like the Dalai Lama in a blazer.
Dana, I'll start with you. It was a terrible night for women. Trump won more women. He won the popular vote. What are these people moaning about?
I don't know. I mean, today Brian Stelter tweeted that there was a talent agent who told him that a lot of members of the media are questioning whether they have it in them to cover another Trump cycle. And then they wonder why the working class is like, guys, you are so out of touch with what real work is. And also, they didn't really cover the Biden administration.
Gutfeld didn't need to dig deep. Kimmel's early comedy was packed with the very stuff he now condemns. Crude jokes, racist impressions, and sketches that aged like spoiled fish. While Kimmel plays the moral guy, Gutfeld brought the receipts, loud and clear. And those on-air tears? Gutfeld shredded that act. Kimmel cries more than my toddler, and with less dignity. The burn, instant ratings frostbite. Then the knockout? Kimmel's comedy is like a Prius with a megaphone, quiet, smug, and useless in a real race.
Fellas are experiencing deep mental pain. And it's not just them. Journalists are now offering tips to deal with their disappointment, frustration, even fear. And I get it. That's normal after any loss. I'm still mad about losing world's sexiest man to Johnny Depp. But why would people feel fear? Maybe because their only news sources are constantly telling them Trump's going to turn America into Germany.
Kimmel's sanctimony? Like a self-help podcast without the help or listeners. Watching him lecture is like your dentist yelling at you for skipping floss, while munching on a Twinkie mid-cleaning. But here's where Gutfeld excels. Not with lazy shots, but surgical strikes. He exposes the obvious that everyone else is too scared or canceled to touch. No punching down. He smashes through the hypocrisy with a smirk and a martini. Gutfeld's burns aren't mean. They're right. Kimmel? He hands out dad joke applause lines like a Thanksgiving cringe fest. While Gutfeld makes you laugh and think, Kimmel traps you in a boring school assembly hosted by a bitter guidance counselor. Gutfeld isn't napping, he's wide awake, caffeinated, and roasting Kimmel like a marshmallow with a superiority complex. The public noticed. Praise poured in. Late night wasn't just dull, it was broken. Greg showed up with wit, pettiness, and a flamethrower. While Kimmel clutches his pearls, crying over the state of the world, Gutfeld's quietly crushing the ratings. No pandering, no fake woke act, just straight up funny. Late night is a graveyard of dead punchlines, and Kimmel wanders it like a funeral director for jokes that never landed. Gutfeld? He's throwing a party on those tombstones with a kazoo. His roast wasn't just personal, it was a full-on demolition of the entire late-night circus. The self-importance, the fake applause, the idea that celebrity monologues replace real talk. And here's the knockout. Kimmel doesn't even seem to enjoy being funny anymore. His show feels like punishment for past sins. Forced jokes, strained laughs, applause signs, begging for mercy. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's the kid who figured out the system and is having a blast. Chaotic and clever, the very embodiment of freedom. That terrifies Kimmel. Authenticity can't be scripted. No dramatic showdown, no clap back, because once you're the punchline, you're out of ammo. Gutfeld destroyed Kimmel by being everything Kimmel used to be. Funny, bold, sharp, and fearless. No shouting required, just perfect timing. Jimmy Kimmel, still reading his monologue, pretending the silence isn't deafening. Greg Gutfeld, already plotting the next roast, armed with coffee, wit, and the best joke of all. Keep it funny, leave the guilt trips at the door. That's how Gutfeld turned Kimmel from late-night host to a daytime cautionary tale. No fight needed, just pure, glorious comedic carnage.